I know it's only May, but that seemed like a pretty big series, right? And the Orioles rose to the occasion, winning on Thursday to take 3 out of 4 from the New York Yankees. And I'll recap the win, Kyle Bradish's return, and get you ready for the series in Cincinnati this weekend. All coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Orioles fans, today is Friday, May 3rd, 2024, and welcome back into the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Connor Newcomb. And coming up on today's episode, we are going to recap the Orioles' 7-2 victory over the New York Yankees on Thursday afternoon, which clinched the series for the O's, winning 3 out of 4 from the Yanks. I'll get you the 5 things you need to know from that one, including some surprising Oriole home runs off of Carlos Rodon, the bullpen really putting it together again, and of course, we will break down Kyle Bradish's first start of the 2024 season. Then at the end of the pod, going to get you ready for the next series as the Orioles travel to Cincinnati to take on the Reds this weekend. I'll get you ready for all 3 games of that one. Coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast, which is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. So we start today with an Orioles victory. Final score from Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday afternoon is the Orioles 7 and the New York Yankees 2, as the O's finish this 4-game set, taking 3 out of 4 from New York. The Orioles now 20-11. They reached the 20-win mark in 31 games and go back on top of the division all alone with a 1-game lead over the Yankees atop the AL East. And I'm going to get you the 5 things you need to know from the Orioles win over the Yankees on Thursday. And the first thing you need to know is Kyle Bradish looked good in his 2024 debut. It had been a while back for Bradish, who had an elbow issue, a sprain, which is basically a partial tear in his UCL, got the PRP injections, rested, started throwing, made 3 rehab starts, and it was a little surprising that the Orioles called him up this early to pitch again, but they activated him before Thursday's game to be the starter. And although he didn't pitch super deep into the game, which we kind of knew was going to happen and I'll get to later, he pitched well and he gave the O's a chance to win. 4 2/3 innings, 1 run on 4 hits, 5 Ks, 2 walks, 5 hard hit balls, 84 pitches for Kyle Bradish. He's going to get better as the season goes on as long as he stays healthy. I'm going to break down his start even further in the second segment of today's episode, but just awesome to have Bradish, your 2023 ace, back in the rotation to basically to begin May in 2024. Second thing you need to know from the O's win over the Yankees on Thursday is that we may never see again exactly what happened with the Orioles offense in the bottom of the 4th inning on Thursday. What I'm talking about is what the O's did to Carlos Rodon. They hit 2 solo homers in the 4th inning, went into the inning with a 1-1 tie, left the inning leading New York 3-1. And how they got those homers, I am still shocked by. It started with the first pitch of the 4th inning. Carlos Rodon grooves a fastball down the middle to Jorge Mateo, and Mateo unloads a solo home run way over the big wall in left field, 105.5 miles per hour off the bat, traveled 425 feet off the bat of Mateo. It was the first over-the-fence home run from Jorge Mateo since April 30th of 2023 in Detroit. More than a year had gone by between over-the-fence homers for Mateo. We remember his amazing April from last year. Hit 6 home runs in April, was batting well over 300, was the Orioles' best hitter in the first month of last season. Then, among qualified hitters in Major League Baseball, he was the worst hitter in the league for the final 5 months of the season. Hasn't been as good of a start, although he's been really solid when he's been out there so far this season. He had 1 other home run all of last year. It was an inside the park home run in Oakland. Never again after April last year did he hit one over the fence. He clobbered one over the fence. That had to feel good for Mateo. And then, at least he's been swinging the bat okay. Even more unlikely, couple batters later, There goes Ryan McKenna. That's right, Ryan McKenna, who was just called up basically to mostly sit the bench as a right-handed hitter who can, you know, maybe have some pitch hitting roles, but is mostly going to be a pinch runner and defensive replacement until Austin Hayes comes back. Cedric Mullins been struggling a little bit, so he gets the day off. Ryan McKenna starting in center field, batting ninth against a left-handed pitcher. And what does McKenna do? He homers off Rodon as well. This one to dead center field. Thought Trent Grisham might have had a play on it, but he just missed robbing the homer. McKenna, 403 feet, 103 off the bat. And McKenna had a really good swing in his first at-bat. The Orioles, remember, they loaded the bases with nobody out in the second inning of this game. Cowser struck out. McCann struck out. And McKenna was at the plate, and he ripped a ball 108 off the bat. Unfortunately, it was hit directly at the left fielder, Alex Verdugo, who made the catch to end the inning. But it was a really good swing. And McKenna just attacked the ball again against Rodon and got rewarded for his first homer of the season. And it hasn't been as long for McKenna, but that was his first home run since he hit the walk-off homer against the Mariners last June. So it's been a while for McKenna as well. Couple of guys who aren't going to play, a gigantic role for the Orioles this year. McKenna might not even be here much longer, depending on how long it takes for Hayes to come back. But, I mean, what are you doing if you're Carlos Rodon? Giving up a homer to Mateo and McKenna in the same inning? That may never happen again, and you got to cherish those when it helps you get a W. Third thing you need to know from the O's win on Thursday is that certainly the rest of the offense did its part too. Now, there were a couple of guys who struggled a bit. James McCann had an 0 for 4. Colton Cowser's been slumping a bit. He had an 0 for 3 in this game as well. And even Gunnar Henderson, an 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. But other than that, the Orioles got contributions. Adley Rutschman had a double and a run scored. Ryan Mountcastle, a 2 for 4 day. He had a homer as well that opened the scoring. A solo shot in the bottom of the third that tied this game at 1 for Mountcastle, 107 off the bat, 405 feet. Hit a slider that was honestly a ball. Like it was below the knees, and he still just scooped it out to center field for a home run. Anthony Santander got himself a single and a run scored. Jordan Westberg also with a 2-hit day, including really the biggest blow in this game, seemingly the biggest punch, a 2-run triple off of Rodon in the 5th that really helped cap off the 4-run 5th inning for the Orioles. That triple put them up 6-1 at the time and kind of helped the Orioles pull away. Westberg scorched that ball into left center field gap, and then mentioned the homers from Mateo and from McKenna as little performance from the Orioles offense in this game, even though they didn't draw a walk. And it's been the thing that the Orioles have been worst at this year, drawing walks. They are in the bottom 10 in Major League Baseball in walk percentage. They're in like the top 5, though, in every other category. And we basically saw a tiny version of the O's entire season offensively on Thursday. And you know what? If they're not walking, but they're being aggressive, they're still getting on base, getting hits, leading the league in homers, like, I'll take it, right? It's a fun offense to watch right now. And even better when you remember one day, less than 24 hours after they were shut out for the first time this year in the 2-0 loss to the Yankees on Wednesday, boom, they flush it, turn it right around, just jump on Carlos Rodon, who had been really good this year. He has sub-3 ERA coming into this game after his disastrous 2023 season with the Yankees, and they just bludgeoned him, got him out of the game in the 5th inning. This offense does not stop. Fourth thing you need to know from the O's win on Thursday is that Jacob Webb might just own the Yankees and might just be Aaron Judge's kryptonite. I mean, he did it again on Thursday. Now, to be fair, not nearly as big a spot as what he did on Tuesday. Remember, Jacob Webb, with a lot of the A bullpen down, came in and got a 4-out save, 4 up, 4 down to preserve the Orioles' 4-2 win over the Yankees on Tuesday, including 3 strikeouts. Well, when he pitched this time, it was a slightly different scenario. It was the 7th and 8th innings instead of the 8th and 9th, and it was 7-2 instead of 4-2, but still went 4 up, 4 down against the Yankee order with 3 strikeouts, and it was in similarly dominant fashion. I got to be honest with you. Jacob Webb came in there. He struck out Aaron Judge again. This time, last time it was on a really good changeup down and away. This time it was sweeper, foul ball, strike 1, fastball, outside corner, strike 2, and then 0-2 pitch. He just throws a fastball at 93 miles per hour right down the middle, and Judge swings right through it for strike 3. Aaron Judge, now hitting under 200, looks lost at the plate, and Jacob Webb's not helping anything out. And then he comes back out for the 8th inning, strikes out Anthony Rizzo on a high fastball again, blows a fastball by Gleyber Torres, gets Alex Verdugo to ground out to end the inning. Webb was on this roster bullpen bubble for a while. He's now in my trust ranking for the Orioles bullpen, and he is one of Brandon Hyde's guys at this point and is showing you why. And the fifth and final thing you need to know from the Orioles series clinching 7-2 win over New York on Thursday is that it wasn't just Jacob Webb. The rest of the bullpen did its job in this game because Kyle Bradish, because he wasn't fully built up and he had a little traffic, did have to come out of this game after 4 2/3 innings. So the Orioles bullpen had to cover 4 1/3. They had to get 13 outs in this game. Now, the fact that the offense had the big fifth inning and kind of pulled away helped them out, but everybody banded together. Now, Keegan Aiken did come in and get a huge out in the fifth to get out of a jam and keep the Orioles up 3-1. He allowed a solo homer to Gleyber Torres in the sixth, but that was the only blemish allowed by the Orioles bullpen. Keegan Aiken, an inning and a third. Danny Coulomb, 2/3 of an inning. Jacob Webb, I talked about already. And then Cianel Perez came in and got a 1-2-3 ninth to end the game. His stuff looked filthy. Had a couple of strikeouts, including, how about this blast from the past? Struck out our old friend Jahmai Jones to end the game and clinch the series with a wicked breaking ball. And it was just a big day for the O's bullpen. And after the weekend the Orioles had, right, Craig Kimbrell blows the 2 saves. They lose the series at home against the Athletics to turn things around, take 3 out of 4 from the Yankees in this, although it's May, big divisional series. They're now 6-1 against the AL East this year. 16 consecutive series against their own division without losing one of those series is an Orioles record. But what the O's bullpen did in this series was incredible considering how kind of bad we felt about this pen coming out of the A's series. Now, it helped that Craig Kimbrell just got to rest this whole week, right? Didn't pitch in any of the 4 games, which is good. Like, keep him rested if he is still dealing with that back issue. But the Orioles bullpen in this series, the Orioles pitching staff in total allowed only 6 runs in 4 games to the Yankees offense. Like, that's pretty impressive on its own. But the bullpen itself, through 11 2/3 innings in this series, allowed only 1 run. It was the Keegan Aiken solo homer in this game, which went from 7-1 to 7-2, like an inconsequential home run. That was the only run they allowed on 5 hits with 12 strikeouts and 1 walk this series against a Yankees order that, if you remember, has struggled at times this year. But coming into this series, in that series over the weekend for the Yankees, they took 2 of 3 in Milwaukee against the Brewers. They had scored 15 runs each in the final 2 games of that series against a good Brewers team. They came in and the Orioles completely shut down these bats. Best series of the year so far for the O's. They get the win 3 out of 4. That was a fun series of baseball to watch. And the O's sitting all alone in first place. And one of the reasons they are, and one of the reasons I'm feeling really good, I mean, not just feeling great because the O's won, but I think for me personally, and even for the Orioles' long-term outlook, the better news than even beating the Yankees and winning this series on Thursday is that Kyle Bradish returned, looked good, and looked healthy. So coming up next, we will break down Bradish's first start of 2024, talk about what went well, what didn't, and what the outlook is for him and the Orioles moving forward. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And today's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is also brought to you by the DK Law Group. When you did a law firm, do you want the legal runaround, or would you rather have a no-nonsense approach? Well, you get the latter with the DK Law Group. DK Law Group specializes in real estate law, estate planning, business law, and family law. They're tech-savvy, they treat clients like family, and they focus on keeping your legal solutions simple. And the DK Law Group is a woman-led firm with Diana Khan at the helm. Diana has been called an unparalleled legal expert by some in the field. So contact DK Law Group today at dklawmd.com. And Locked On listeners can call today to schedule a free 30-minute consultation when you mention the tagline, Empowering Legacies. So the Orioles take down the Yankees 7-2 on Thursday, and a big part of it was Kyle Bradish, who made his return to the Hill for the Orioles for the first time in 2024. We know the story. Bradish, when starting to throw to build up in January, felt an issue in his elbow, gets an MRI. He's got a UCL sprain. What that means is a partial tear in the UCL. That is the ulnar collateral ligament. That is the ligament that when it tears, causes pitchers to get Tommy John surgery. But they felt the tear wasn't big enough, or he felt okay enough, whatever it was, to not get the surgery quite yet. And they went the PRP injection route. PRP injection, you rest, you start to throw again. And that is what he did. Now, we didn't see him throw at spring training at all, at least in a game, but came back in April, started building up in AA Bowie, couple of rehab starts in AAA Norfolk, and then he made his final one late last week. And the Orioles said, Brandon Hyde said after a game, hey, Bradish looks good, feels good. His next start will be in the big leagues. And we were kind of waiting and waiting. He had joined the team in Baltimore. We're like, when is he going to appear? Well, we got the news Thursday morning. Bradish activated from the 15-day injured list on Thursday to start Thursday's game. And I'll tell you right now, just off the bat, I'm still a little hesitant and a little worried. It is still a partial tear in the UCL. It is still an injury that some pitchers have come back from briefly and then gotten injured more and still had to get Tommy John surgery. It's still in the back of my mind. But this was such a huge positive thing to see from Kyle Bradish. Again, I mentioned his final line, 4 2/3 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 5 Ks, 2 walks, no home runs, 84 pitches, 5 hard hit balls by the Yankees hitters. Now, he got in a little trouble, retired the first 2 batters, struck out the first batter he faced, Anthony Volpe, with a wicked slider, then loaded the bases with 2 outs, but got Verdugo to ground out to get out of that jam. Good second, did give up an RBI single in the third for the Yankees to go up 1-0, and then kind of cruised through after that. Got the first 2 outs of the 5th, gave up a triple to Juan Soto, and then walked Aaron Judge, and his pitch count was at 83. He was only really built up so far. I mean, his final start in Norfolk, he had only thrown 75 pitches, so he wasn't even fully built up. That's why when I was talking this week, like, hey, whenever Bradish comes back, most likely he's not going to go more than 5 innings. Hyde tried to get him to finish 5, just couldn't retire those final 2 batters, and went to Keegan Aiken, who did luckily get out of the jam and get the final out of that top of the 5th inning. But I thought the stuff looked good. I mean, Brandon Hyde said to the media after the game, he thought the stuff looked great. The velocity was there, and it totally was. I mean, vintage Kyle Bradish, right? 32 sliders and 30 sinkers of his 83 pitches. That's what you're going to see. Mostly sliders, lots of sinkers to go get the righties like that. His fastball, average 95, touch 97. That's what we're used to seeing. His fastball average all of last year was 95.0. His fastball average with the 30 sinkers he threw on Thursday, 95.0, not even a tiny tick down in terms of the fastball average velo. That is a really, really good sign. And that's just good Kyle Bradish. Now, he didn't throw any changeups at all. That was the only thing we didn't see. But the Yankees don't have a lot of like great left-handed hitters in their order. Like, yeah, they've got Soto and Anthony Rizzo, and those are good hitters. Don't get me wrong. But it's more of a righty power lineup, and I think that's Bradish's plan of attack. Maybe he just didn't have the feel for his changeup early in his bullpen when he was warming up either. But 83 pitches was a good number. Again, he wasn't ever going to pitch more than 5. He wasn't going to ever pitch more than, I would say, probably 90 pitches was most likely his absolute max for that start. And really the most impressive part is, like, because he was only at 75 pitches in the last start, because they were probably looking for 80 to 90, technically he was still like building up while he's making his first start back from the injured list. And to do it against the Yankees and to pitch that well, 1 run over 4 2/3 is really, really impressive. And now I would say it would take 1 more start for him to feel fully built up. Like, you want to see him get to 90 plus pitches in his next start. And if he's okay tomorrow or today, doesn't have inflammation, doesn't feel a lot of soreness, he goes out in his next start, throws 90 plus pitches, velo looks good, stuff looks good, and then he feels okay after that one, I think we take even another step, not fully into the clear, but closer towards the clear for Kyle Bradish. And that is just huge. So again, we're not out of the woods yet. I still have a level of concern, but I saw it in front of my eyes. He was back on the field pitching well and looking like vintage dominant 4th in the Cy Young voting 2023 ace of the Orioles, Kyle Bradish. That is huge. Now, it's unfortunate that, of course, a day before Bradish came back, Grayson Rodriguez went on the injured list, so the Orioles still aren't fully healthy. But you do have Burns, Bradish, Means, Kramer, Irvin in the same rotation. At some point, you get Grayson back, hopefully soon, hopefully end of May, and you go back to full strength. But it's really impressive. Like, when the news came out, I thought best case scenario, we see Bradish June 1st. May 2nd, he makes his first start of the season and looks good. That is huge. Now, the corresponding move to make room for Bradish was pretty much the one earlier this week I had predicted was going to happen. Right-handed reliever Yohan Ramirez was DFA'd to make room for Bradish. There are now 39 players on the Orioles 40-man roster. Ramirez had been claimed off waivers by the Mets a couple of weeks ago, made 5 appearances out of the Orioles bullpen, 6 innings, 4 runs, 3 hits, 6 Ks, 2 walks, but 3 hit batters and 3 wild pitches thrown as well for the right-hander. But you can tell the Orioles really want to keep him in the organization, hoping that he does clear waivers and stay in AAA Norfolk and stay as bullpen depth because they really like his stuff. His sweeper is nasty. It's just kind of errant command at times. A lot of relievers like that, but the O's like the Ramirez stuff. They love to hang on to him. Although I think the stuff from him is just too enticing. I would say most likely another team does claim him on waivers and the Orioles lose him. But if he ever gets DFA'd again this year, don't be surprised if Mike Elias tries to get Yohan Ramirez back. But Bradish comes back, make the Orioles better. And now, after winning a big series against the Yankees, they go back on the road. Their opponent, the Cincinnati Reds, this weekend with a 3-game series starting tonight. And coming up next to finish off the pod, I will preview that weekend series. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, well, it's pretty easy to play and pretty fun to play because the Major League Baseball season is underway. And whether you're looking at strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, take your pick of more or less on the Prize Picks app. This is how you play. You just look at a stat for, let's say, Adley Rutschman, more or less than 2.5 total bases on Friday night against the Reds. You take more, he has more, he hits a homer, that gets him more. You win. That's all you got to do. And you can win 100 times your money on Prize Picks. You can play with the NBA playoffs underway as well. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the Prize Picks app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB and get a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And today's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. We got to talk about this game because in Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get, like unique stickers you can trade, cool new playing pieces, and emojis for taunting your friends. And plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day, with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games that you can play. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies as well. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Monopoly Go. Game on. So the Orioles are now at 20-11 on the season, sitting in first place in the AL East, just taking 3 out of 4 from the Yankees. And next up, they hit the road for a quick little 5-game road trip, starting in Cincinnati tonight, opening up a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. A Reds team which was last year, I would say, pretty similar. The 2023 Reds, very similar to the 2022 Orioles, in that they kind of felt like they were ending their rebuild a little early, were playing good baseball a little early, but just kind of ran out of gas at the end. And although they were in the wild card hunt for a while, missed the playoffs. So everybody felt like, okay, the 2024 Reds, well, they could be like the 2023 Orioles. Not quite so far. Obviously, plenty of time for them to turn things around, but they've basically been a 500 baseball team. They are 16-15 coming into the series. Reds had the day off on Thursday after they had just played in San Diego this week, where they lost 2 out of 3 on the road against the Padres. And really the issue for the Reds this season has been their offense. Now, Elly De La Cruz, their young star, he has been incredible, been one of the best hitters in baseball this year, stealing bags, making plays, hitting monster home runs. He's been incredible. Spencer Steer, their left fielder, really good right-handed hitter, has been solid. Tyler Stevenson, their catcher, has been pretty good with the bat, but otherwise, their offense has really struggled. Now, they've got some injuries in that lineup. They had Noelvi Marte, one of their top prospects, get hit with a PED suspension, so they don't have him either. Jeimer Candelario, who they brought in to help their offense, has just been abysmal with the bat. It hasn't been very good for their offense so far this year, and the injuries haven't helped. But by WRC Plus standards, they are the 25th ranked offense in Major League Baseball so far this year. So despite good pitching, that is why they are just 16-15. Now, the bullpen has been better than the offense, but has basically been a league average bullpen. Their closer, Alexis Diaz, has nasty stuff, but he's got some command issues at times. Sam Mole is a good lefty who's back in their pen. Emilio Pagan, a veteran's been solid. They've got Brent Suter, but just kind of a bullpen of like solid veterans and interesting young guys that hasn't really fully come together this year, but still a bullpen that can certainly lock down a win if they need to, but they're gettable. Like there's not a Clay Holmes or a Mason Miller in this Reds bullpen. They are gettable late in games, but this team is led by its starting pitching. And we'll talk about who the three starters are the Orioles are going to see, starting with the Friday night game, a 6:10 p.m. start for the Orioles and the Reds on Friday. It will be Cole Irvin going for the Orioles on Friday night. Back-to-back just dandies of a start week. 13 2/3 scoreless innings over his last two starts for Irvin. One of the big reasons why he has kept his job so far in the Orioles rotation. And he will go up against Hunter Green, the young right-handed pitcher and fireballer. Green with a 3.63 ERA and 34 2/3 innings. He struck out 42 batters this year and walked just 12. His fastball averages 98 and is consistently up at 100 miles per hour or more. Now, it's a fairly straight fastball, and he does have a home run issue from time to time, especially the Reds ballpark. I mean, besides Colorado, I mean, the Reds is at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. That's basically where you see the most home runs hit. Like, it is a very, very hitter-friendly ballpark, and Green will give up some homers, but his fastball is his bread and butter. He's got a breaking ball. He's got a changeup, but if you're going to get Green, sometimes it's on those pitches. They are not nearly as nasty as his fastball, so look for a lot of heaters from him as he goes up against Irvin. Then you got the Saturday game, a 6:40 p.m. Eastern time first pitch, and it will be John Means, who was activated off the injured list on Wednesday. He will make his 2024 debut as the starter for Saturday's game. And it'll be a matchup of lefties as the young left-hander Andrew Abbott will take the hill for the Reds. Abbott's been pretty solid this year, a 3.27 ERA in 33 innings, although it's been mostly soft contact. Hasn't been missing a lot of bats. He doesn't get a lot of swings and misses, doesn't get a lot of chases, but he throws a lot of pitches in the zone. It's like a fastball at 93, but he's got a nasty changeup, and that's how he gets a lot of right-handed hitters out. It's one of the best changeups in baseball. It's a lot of pop-ups, a lot of soft dribblers. Like Andrew Abbott, honestly, to me, fairly similar to what John Means used to look like at his best when Abbott is on. So it's a really interesting matchup that we're going to see Means versus Abbott on Saturday. And then finally, things end on Sunday with a 4:10 p.m. Eastern time first pitch for the series finale. Dean Kramer, coming off a good start against the Yankees the other night, will take the hill for the Orioles, and he'll go up against another lefty, that is Nick Lodolo, who has been, bar none, the best pitcher in the Reds rotation and one of the best pitchers in the National League this year. Now, he missed a few starts, so he's only thrown 24 innings total, but he has a 1.88 ERA in those 24 innings with 31 strikeouts to 6 walks. Had 11 Ks in his last start. He has been a strikeout artist. It's a fastball at 94, but the curveball and the changeup are his bread and butter. Those two pitches are nasty. They both have over a 50% whiff rate on each of them so far this season. Lodolo is a really, really exciting young pitcher. And honestly, Abbott, Green, Lodolo, those are three really exciting young pitchers the Reds have. Again, they are led by their starting rotation. So we'll see what the O's offense can do. You'll probably have those lineups like we saw Thursday with a lot of righties in there. Hey, with Ryan McKenna homering, he probably will get a start either Saturday or Sunday. So we'll see what the O's can do against those three solid starting pitchers this weekend. And then I will be back with you on Monday, recapping the 3-game series between the Orioles and the Reds. Hopefully it is another series W for the O's. But remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the Locked On Orioles YouTube channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review wherever you listen to the pod. Thank you so much to the everydayers out there sticking with us all week. We will be back on Monday. But until then, I'm Connor Newcomb, and this has been the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.